Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Heroes Show. You got Cory, Nick, and Shane here with you, and that means it's Monday and it's Ted Lasso time. Big time spoilers coming at you for Season 2, Episode 8. Yes, friends, we're already 2/3 of the way through this epic season of Ted Lasso. There will be major spoilers here, so if you haven't seen this episode yet, get the hell out of here. Go watch the show on AppleTV Plus and then come back to see us. Shane, you were in our presence to a degree this weekend. You were here in Orlando visiting. How was your trip, sir?
It was hot.
Yeah.
Hot and humid. Typical Florida in September.
Yes,
Rained
indeed.
a lot. Lots of sun. Yeah, it was still fun though.
Yeah,
It's
we're
a
at
good
that
little
point
quick
where
trip.
it's the rest of the country is starting to cool down and like
We're
it
not.
feels nice, and then we're just like still the devil's anus, which is just absolutely terrific.
Sweating.
So, speaking of the devil's anus, Nick, how are you?
I'm doing much better than the New England Patriots are because
Hey.
we got beat by Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins.
So is Tua the guy? Is he it?
Yeah, I mean,
Is he the future?
I'd say so. I mean, it was the Alabama showdown between
Yeah, Mac
QBs.
Jones.
Mm.
Yeah. It was.
And he
it was
threw a touchdown to. You have Jalen Waddle, right?
and yep.
Yeah.
And he threw a touchdown to Jalen Waddle, who was also from Alabama. So that connection is back on track. I can't wait to see more of that. But listen, it's going to be a good week just because of the fact that the Patriots lost and, Dolphins are ahead of the division because the Bills lost and the Jets lost and fuck all those teams. So
There it is.
there it is. Yeah.
And you know what?
I'm happy.
While we're talking about football, let's talk about European football and let's talk about Ted Lasso. Because this one,
the other football.
this one was a banger. It was a 45-minute long episode, which, correct me if I'm wrong, gents, I think that's the longest episode
I think so
in the
too.
entire
Yeah.
series so far.
Yeah.
And it needed it. There was a lot that happened in this episode. We're going to break it down in 3 major sections for you guys. Go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already before we even get started here. And let's talk about this this beginning cold open sequence. We've got Dr. Sharon riding her bicycle, presumably to work for the day, and she gets hit by a car, ends up in the hospital, and then we get a whole bunch of emotional stuff between her and Coach Lasso, as she calls him every time she answers the phone. So, Nick, what were your thoughts on the dynamic and the relationship between these two that kind of progressed throughout this episode?
It annoyed me actually. Yeah, I don't like how we I don't want to say we get this sort of like plot device with her just suddenly having all these problems. Like, I don't know if that's just an issue with the pacing up until this point on the 8th episode. We see her seemingly like caring enough, and obviously we know no one's perfect, everyone has their issues, but when it starts off with her like kind of talking shit about Ted to her therapist, I'm like, where is this coming from? Some Sebastian Maniscalco. Where is this coming from?
Aren't you
comedy.
embarrassed?
Yeah, I was embarrassed for Ted, for kind of just trying to just, I think, not only open up to him but try to connect with Sharon more, and she just seemed very bitchy this episode, very standoffish. Like, I understand if you want to keep it professional, refer to Coach and Doc, that's fine. But she's obviously going through some stuff, and I think it's kind of natural to and it's okay for that to happen. But she's obviously got a drinking issue. Why? We don't know why, other than the fact that she just drinks. If she's drinking because of Ted, then that's just fucked up. And
Kind of hope it is.
but that's the case. Like, why are you giving therapy then? Because and I understand that there are therapists out there who have therapists because they're just as fucked up as the people that they're trying to treat, who are also fucked up. And I'm definitely going the Roy Kent route and saying fuck a lot this episode.
Yeah, you are. We're gonna have to
but,
teach your if you have a niece or a nephew not to swear.
I don't, thankfully.
Oh, that's good. You should
yeah.
never be a parental figure to anyone.
And if you're a parental figure allowing your niece or nephew or kid to watch this episode, then shame on you. Be better.
Like and subscribe before you leave.
Yes, definitely. This is definitely an adult-related show. But as I think the episode progresses throughout, and once she finally opens up to Ted about it, I'm like, okay, this is kind of maybe more of what I expected. I think it maybe just made more sense to her character, because we always seemed she was like this calming, I got it together, and I get that might have been misleading, and it could have been on purpose too. But then to the point where Ted and we all finally get to see what's screwed Ted up since he was 16 years old. And I think we all kind of suspected it was something tragic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think one of us might have said that could have been the actual topic or reason behind Ted just having all these issues. I forget, it might have been one of you guys that had said it, but
I think I predicted it.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll have to go
Take
back
credit
and
for nothing.
watch.
So Shane, good job. You get a gold star, buddy.
Yeah, but and it was like even though we finally hear it, and she's like, no, it definitely is. Like, I'm glad we finally the barriers have been broken. You know, finally, 8 episodes in, we finally get those barriers that are that have been knocked down, and now we'll see where their relationship goes.
Right.
My girlfriend was like, "Do you think they're gonna get together?" And I was like, I don't think so. I don't want that to happen. Nothing against the two of them, but it's just that would be very awkward, because I think there's so much alike that it might just be a little creepy.
And workplace relationships are extremely unprofessional, and nobody does that.
I
We'll get to
mean,
that later in this episode.
you
We'll talk about that.
you know.
So-
but,
So Shane, I'm guessing, based off of your reaction to Nick saying that he was annoyed by it, that you felt somewhat differently. About this arc. So let's argue on the internet, as
Yes.
all good people do.
we actually don't disagree much on this show, so I'm happy we finally got to one. No, I totally I agree about the pacing, and that was something I brought up last week too. Like, the pacing has been just whack this whole season. However, I thought it was a really nice story, because like you're getting to see that Ted, that she and Ted are very similar. Like, I think in the therapist in the earlier on in the episode says, like, you know, you use like standoffishness, and he uses quips. It's the exact same thing. You're just using a different coping mechanism.
right.
And I think it's really good to kind of draw that like connection between them, because it's like you said, even the people doing therapy have their own problems, and it's good to see that she has her own therapist and, you know, talks to her regularly. But yeah, she was clearly like trying to get Ted out. But I think it's like a good breakthrough moment. I mean, I thought it progressed really well throughout this episode. I do agree that we probably should have gotten a little bit of those like hints earlier in the season, and like maybe push the relationship a little bit earlier. But I'm happy that it happened. And like that whole part in the ER was hilarious, where he's like, "Oh, your husband." It's like, "Oh, I'm not married."
No,
He's like,
no.
"Oh, but not in a sad way."
Yeah.
She's a strong, independent woman.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I love that little banter back and forth. Also, little weird possible connection. Roy mentioned that his sister was an ER nurse. Was that Roy's sister potentially?
That's what I thought.
It might be that might come back. But anyways, a good little. They do that often, where they'll introduce somebody quickly and then go back to them.
Yeah.
Have we
But-
not seen his sister yet?
No,
Really? Okay.
no. But no, I loved the connection that they had, and like they set it up so perfectly, where, you know, she confesses to Ted, and she's like, "I don't want to talk about it. I just wanted to tell you." And then he does the exact same thing at the end, where he's like, "I'm not ready to talk about this yet. My dad killed himself. I'm not ready to talk about it, but I wanted you to know, because I think that's what's causing a lot of my problems." And I think that's such a healthy thing too, because like sometimes you just need somebody to listen. You don't need like somebody to try and solve your problems right there. You just need to tell somebody something. And we got another moment before the match where everyone was just spitting out their truths as well. And I thought that was a great moment as well. Although Nate, which we might talk about him a little later, like there's a little potential like problem brewing with Nate and Matt. Seems like that could be foreshadowing. But no, I think it's a good, healthy thing to for the show to say that like sometimes just telling somebody what's wrong is healthy, and you just get it out. And I thought that was a good little like progression throughout the episode. At first, just totally dismissive, and then we go to the confession from Sharon, and then we go to the confession from Ted. Nice little callback. Another thing that they have alike is they both have drinking problems, and I think Ted, like, immediatly when he saw that, he was like, oh, well, like, I know what you do. Yeah. So I think that's pretty interesting too. They've referenced alcohol throughout the season and a little bit throughout the series, but more so this season, where like alcohol is a coping mechanism. So I wonder, Sharon also mentioned in, I think, episode 1 that she had an addictive personality. So it's possible that, alcohol is her vice.
Yeah. It's something that also a lot of people that deal with mental, stress, go to, like you were saying, it's just something that, you have a shitty day at work and, well, booze is right there. So,
right.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
So I get to be the tiebreaker now,
my
right?
beer.
What's that?
I get to be the tiebreaker now, right?
I guess,
debate.
sure. I don't disagree with him, but yeah.
I am indifferent. So it's a draw. To me, the whole arc, yes, I feel like revealing that she's got issues was too quick. I feel like they should, like Shane said, should have peppered that in for a few episodes leading up to this.
Yeah.
At the same time, the fact that they finally got across a bridge together was good. But for me, the whole thing that really mattered was the fact that was used as a device to get Ted to drop the bomb that his dad committed suicide when he was 16, which is a huge story point for this season.
Yeah.
Especially, the writers mentioned it might get a little bit dark. It might be a little bit less happy than season 1. We've been leading to something like that, and we've all kind of been wondering exactly what it was. Now we know, and now we have 4 episodes to kind of deal with that fallout, and see if any of the stuff that he's going through or has gone through for a very long time, how that will affect his coworkers, how it'll affect the rest of the soccer club, the fans, the people in the pub. Like, it all has a trickle down effect, and I wonder if, especially after this match, which we'll segue into in a moment here, if the fans will start to turn on Ted and the crew a little bit after the shellacking they took from Man City. So so let's get into that. They got their asses beat.
Yep.
They sure did.
If anybody watched Nick and I's prediction video, it still could happen. It was not in this match though.
No, it was not here. So it felt like a typical sports movie where like the hero team has to get beat down before they rise up and succeed. But sometimes that's like a 2-0 loss, maybe 3-0. But once it got to be like 4-0 and then 5-0,
own goal,
it just felt like they were piling the shit on top of you and just letting you stew in it. So Shane, how did you feel about the way that they did this, and what does it do? Because one of the things Nick said to me yesterday before we recorded this was, what does the team have to play for now?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm wondering if they have some sort of backdoor way that they'll get promoted. I think that the expectation for this whole season was that they'd get promoted, and then next season, they'd go to the Premier League.
Yep.
So maybe they're taking a different route, which is unexpected. We were talking about last week or 2 weeks ago, we said they have to win, right? They have to get promoted, and apparently not. The writers said, fuck that, we're just gonna get them killed. But it's really interesting because of what Ted said a couple episodes ago about like we're gonna go through the dark forest and then we're gonna emerge at the end because he believes in communism. And this is maybe that, like, this is a low point for almost every character. You've got Ted, who's at his breaking point. You've got Jamie, who we'll talk about, which powerful moment, but we'll talk about that in a second. And, like Sharon even is at her low point. But like things are about to break, I think. Things could go horribly wrong very quickly after this, especially because like when you get a beat down like that, people are going to start asking questions. And if you've got Ted openly admitting to panic attacks. I don't think there was any. I think it was very intentional that Trent Krim asked him a couple episodes ago what his issue was, because I think that's going to come back. I think somebody's going to leak it to the press. I think it's going to be Nate. That's going to be my prediction. Either intentionally or unintentionally, Nate is going to leak it because everybody was giving all their issues. Like, I mean, you got Beard on mushrooms. You've got Roy not even reading the scouting reports. You've got Higgins completely failing to get a transfer player, and the coach is having panic attacks. And then Nate is like, well, sometimes I save my good ideas for the moment. It's like, you snarky asshole. Yeah. Like, there's a little twinkle in his eye. Like, you know, maybe I feel like either intentionally or unintentionally, he's going to use that as a power grab at some point.
I'd hope it's unintentional.
I hope so too, because I will hate him forever.
Not only that, but I think at that point, like, he would get fired, you know. And at that point, like, well, all right, Wonder Kid, go coach your own team now, because people on Twitter think you're fucking ready for it. But you know, what do I know? I love the whole truth part, and Shane and I spoke about this last week, where last week's theme had a big emphasis on truth, and we see more of it. It was a good, bonding moment between five guys, and not the sandwich, not the fast food joint, but five human beings. But I thought that was going to be, like, let's get out there, and I thought that was going to be like momentum.
It was not.
Holy shit, was I wrong?
We need the Arrested Development narrator voice. He was wrong.
He was wrong. But that whole thing was like, fun fact. I'll throw a little fun fact in there. In our life, in real life, outside of Ted Lasso, Man City did play in the Emirates FA Cup semifinal. That they played Chelsea, and they lost to Chelsea, who is ironically the team that Roy Kent played for in Ted Lasso. So here Man City is in the semifinal in the FA Cup, and they actually win. So I know that's not really a direct correlation whatsoever, but it's just kind of one of those interesting fun facts that I was doing some research on, because I'm like, where does Richmond go now?
Right.
The fact that they've lost, what's in it for them? And I understand that, I know Man City is a tremendous team. They're top tier. Teams like Richmond, they do blow out of the water 4-0, 5-0, or 5-1, whatever it happens to be. But at the same time, we only know that this is going to a third season. We don't know what ends up happening after that. So, if this doesn't go past season 3 and they never go anywhere, then it's like, well, Richmond didn't really do shit.
Yeah,
literally.
we haven't seen the league table though, so it's possible that, like, they set up earlier that they won a couple games. It's possible they're maybe near the top.
So that's what I'm wondering, is if they have a chance, to make
they, like,
it
rattle off a winning streak or something.
Right. So I wonder if there's a chance that they bounce back again. Maybe our prediction is just a video or an episode late, or two episodes late. But maybe that's how they get back into relegation or whatever. So I don't, like, they get promoted, right? So they don't get relegated again. My bad.
Right.
I think at the same time, like, the coaches, with Nate saying he's a what do you say, a dickless, whatever, which is hilarious, because I know if you've played sports or watched sports, you said numerous things to referees. I said it today while watching the football game. Are you fucking blind, ref? Go fuck yourselves.
There's even in the title card for Ted Lasso, one of the seats has graffiti that says, "Get off your knees, ref."
Yeah, I saw that.
It's in there.
Yeah. I mean, I've said that while playing hockey, and it's sports are emotional. If you've played, and watched sports, but the fact that he gets a yellow card, and has to go sit down. And
did you notice he sat next to Roy, who was already back there?
Yeah, I was like, so did Roy already get like a yellow card at that point? Because, Which, I mean, obviously, with Roy Kent being Roy Kent, he was, definitely the first person to go.
You almost expect it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when Beard and Nate are talking, do we park the bus? It's never late to park the bus. Who should we do? And Ted's is like, no, it's all right. Let's go. Keep going. That attaboy. And it's not doing anything. And to the point where Beard loses it, and throws his hat down, and he's like, it is what it is. And then Beard looks at him and was like, yeah, it is what it is. And he falls over the barrier.
Oh man, him falling over the barrier was like an Austin Powers bit. It made me laugh so fucking hard. I loved it. It was great.
No, those dynamics were super interesting because like those could come back. Like they had that bonding moment and then they all fell apart.
Yep.
But I think we talked about Roy. Let's talk about the best part of the episode, which is Roy and Jamie.
So just like the whole Doc, Sharon and Ted thing, the match really was just a plot device to get us to the point where Jamie's asshole dad, in quotes, busts into the locker room wearing a Jamie Tart Man City kit, gets right in Jamie's face, gives him a bunch of shit, runs down all the players on their club. Jamie punches him in the face, which should be like the moment, but like you don't really feel great about him doing it because it's just such a shitty situation.
Yeah.
And then Roy Kent steps in and literally at the beginning of this season, he wished death upon Jamie due to the incurable disease of being a little bitch.
Yep.
And then we get that hug.
Yeah. It was set up so well. So like perfect. It was like poetic because earlier in the episode, it's him and Phoebe, and he realizes that like he is a big father figure for her.
Big influence,
and he mentions to the teacher in that scene that Phoebe's dad is a complete jerk, just awful. And so in that moment, when he sees Jamie at his most vulnerable, he's seeing Phoebe, he's seeing his niece, and he's like, I can be to Jamie what I am to my niece. And it was so unexpected, but like so triumphant. Like Roy stepped up in a big way. And I think it's a big like statement just as a show. Like men can show emotion.
Oh, yeah.
They can hug, they can cry. Like the masculinity stuff is just the toxic masculinity where men aren't allowed to cry. It's like so bad for society. And like
I love being toxic.
I almost freaking cried watching it.
Oh, it definitely got dusty in my living room.
Listen, I'm all for masculinity. However,
we know.
but what I'm saying though is too, like, I mean, I'm not going to deny the fact that like there's shit I watch that gets me all teary-eyed. Like, there's definitely movies that have gotten me emotional, and I'm not afraid to admit that either, because it's just part of being fucking human.
Avengers Endgame doesn't count.
It certainly does count. Because
it made me cry multiple times.
The entire theater was going. I fucking heard it all. But no, like, Cory and I had this little our little chat conversations. When he says it's Dustin, I was like, yeah, the fan's on high and it's just drying on my eyes over here, and I mean, and I watched this episode 3 times, and every single time it got to me, because it was a beautiful moment. It was the most heartfelt, heartwarming moment in the entire show. To the point where like even like Jamie crying in Roy Kent's arms, fucking Roy Kent here, and Jamie Tart. And I think we've talked about this before, but this could be the season where it's a redemption arc for Jamie Tart. And I think, especially in Roy's eyes, he's like, Jamie has, come full circle. And, I don't know if you guys thought this or maybe wanted this too, but after that happened, and like, the camera pans on Nate a couple times, and I'm wondering, like, Nate, maybe you should stand up to your dad in a different way. I don't say go punch him, but like,
it's a good call out.
Not only that, but then when Ted kind of walks off, like, we see him make the call to Sharon to tell her about his father. But I almost wonder, I'm like, oh shit, is he gonna go chase down Jamie's dad and be like, don't you ever fucking do that to my player again, or I will mess you up.
Thought that was gonna be
I
it.
wanted that to
I
happen
thought it was
so
too.
fucking bad.
Yeah.
You know, because like this dude just berates your entire team,
Yeah.
your entire coaching staff, and your son. Like, fuck you, man.
Yeah. And the whole episode and the whole season has been about dads and sons. And like Higgins says, fathers and sons, they should write songs about it.
Higgins, can we just shoot a little shout out to Higgins? Man's
He's
been an
so good.
all-star. He's been
He's
an
so
all-star
good.
this season.
Just
He's in his
Patient,
little
like,
version of Yoda's cave on Dagobah. And
Yeah.
team
fucking
player.
there.
yeah.
I have everything I need if I spill anything.
Higgins is great, but it's like, yeah, it was just such a good moment. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, that Nate thing could come back because as we've seen throughout this entire show, like people's issues come from their parents. Like Rebecca has a lot of issues because her parents break up every 2 weeks. Ted has a lot of issues because his dad killed himself.
Yeah.
Jamie has a lot of issues because his dad just abuses him. Nate has a lot of issues because his dad, refuses to acknowledge him. It's everyone's issues are a result of their upbringing in this show. I think we might learn something about Beard. I mean, QAnon, that might be it. But no, and so maybe that's what this next week's episode about Beard is going to be about, is maybe his upbringing or something, just more of a character focus on him.
Or it could just be him tripping on shrooms for
it
45
could
minutes.
it could, which
They
I'd
show
still
a picture of
watch
him
it.
in the club, so
Yeah.
I would
but
still watch it.
As George Carlin says, hell is full of dads. And that's pretty accurate from this show.
So the ending, before we switch topics here, right after Ted makes the phone call to Sharon, and Beard comes out and says, I'm not gonna ride back with you guys. I'm gonna take a walk. Want to come? How did you guys feel about that?
It was weird,
right?
Yeah.
Like, I almost wanted to. The way I perceived it is, Ted, we need to have a serious chat.
Yeah.
Like mano y mano about what just happened and where things are going and what's going on with you.
Yeah, it was a call for help, and Ted wasn't in the right headspace to give that help.
Yeah, and I don't blame Ted at all. I mean, especially after kind of telling someone else about, the biggest tragedy in his life, which I'm sure I don't even think, Beard knows about it.
Yeah, probably not.
And I wonder if he'll tell anyone else outside of Sharon about, his 16-year-old tragedy, but and he's like, oh, remember, first thing in the morning, coffee, your turn, and he says something about birds, and he just like
flips him off.
And he goes, not that bird. And I'm like, he's not happy.
No,
he is not happy.
No, I also feel like there's something like maybe it was a cry for help, but I also feel like during the match, we talked about it already, where Ted was just kind of like, yep, come on.
Yep.
And I think Beard kind of got fed up with the way Ted's handling the match, because Ted's head is obviously not in the game in any way, shape, or form. And, like you guys said, asking him to come with, and then Ted says no, Beard's just going to go, okay, this guy just doesn't give a shit. Yeah. Right? Like, he doesn't want to come
he
and
did
talk
the
to me about
same thing last season, where he was like, it's not all about wins and losses. He's like, but it is.
Right. Yeah.
Like you can't just like accept average as a professional football coach.
And draws won't get you anywhere in European football. And but again, we can't fault Ted, because he said, like, I need to FaceTime my son because he had a recital. I want to see how it is. It's like, so he's just trying to be there for his son the way his father wasn't there for him. And that's why I don't think Beard understands that, because or knows about Ted's dark secret, because if he did, he'd understand that Ted's kid is important. Him being a father that's there for him is important. And again, we just said the father-son connection is very big on this season. So again, I don't want to fault Beard for that either, but I think there's going to be some sort of implosion between those two.
I think so.
And I think it's going to happen potentially in the next episode.
Well, one of you guys predicted during one of our shows in the last couple of weeks that Ted might take a sabbatical and go back to the U.S. And after a loss like that, it might not even be like a bad PR move to have him do that. You know, like if the fans are calling for his head after something like that, you know, maybe he goes back to the US. And
I think something like that is coming. Yeah. We'll talk about predictions towards the end because I have some predictions as to our third topic as well. Do we want to pivot?
Yeah, we can pivot, and I won't fuck that up by releasing it 4 days after the first video.
It's all right.
So third topic, Rebecca and Sam. It finally happened in more ways than one.
Yes, it did.
So I'll start because I always let one of you fuckers start.
Go for it.
I'm kind of happy with the fact that they're rolling with it. You know, the initial reaction which Rebecca had in the bar was, holy shit,
everyone's
no,
reaction.
I'm a pedophile.
I'm your boss. I'm a pedophile. I've been grooming you.
Yeah.
She used all the buzzwords.
I'm your mother's age.
Really funny. But then they both just kind of gave in to their natural raw feelings and emotions, and there was some form of connection there. And you know, Sam had a fly ass haircut that Cap gave him.
Sam is so smooth. Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
like how could you resist?
Yeah.
And I you know, like I think it creates an interesting dynamic for the remainder of the season.
It does.
I think it flips the script on, you know, usual TV trope where it's like the person that's twice their age is the male going after like the super hot female or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really interesting move. It's full of cringe, and if you know me, I love the cringe. I love the stuff that makes my girlfriend like bury her head in the couch because to me that's just, it's tension, it's good writing, it's good vibes, and I'm very curious to see if they last to the end of the season, or if that, like we've predicted, there could be like a shakeup in management or personnel or whatever because of this. Sam might end up on a different team. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways this could go, and I welcome all of them. So that is my piece. Go ahead, everybody else.
I'll save mine for last. Shane, why don't you go ahead?
I loved it in the moment. It is also going to be a disaster. It's like you can't deny the chemistry at all. Like, and like the moment where she closes the door and goes inside and like kind of sits on the back of the door and like is all happy, like that's the moment we've been waiting for Rebecca to have for the entire season. It's the somebody that makes you feel like you've been struck by lightning that Roy referred to. However, they have made a big deal about the British tabloids in the show before. They were at a restaurant in public view. He showed up at her house and they kissed with the door open. He is also the person who protested against erythium oil, and they lost their head sponsor because of it. And so the headline will be Rebecca ditches sponsor because she is sleeping with the player. Yep. So it is going to be a fucking disaster.
Disaster. I don't want to say you stole my thunder, Shane, but I'm glad we're on the same page here because I was winding it up. I was winding up for that. Like, holy shit. I'm like, this is going to be like, I'm happy. I'm happy for them. I really am. Like, you know, even though she's like, I can't do it. You know, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. You can't deny some of the feelings that they had, right? Like, and even though she had the right, we can't do. I'm your boss, you know. It's like it's just dinner, you know. Like, and again, remember earlier on the season, she did invite him out for dinner, and
did she?
Yeah, for
like anonymously.
No, I think it was planned. It was like she wanted. He's like, I'm having dinner with Rebecca. It was for I think it was in the second episode.
I don't remember that.
Something I forgot what it was about, but that was fine. Like, and I think it was before the whole boss girl LDN conversation took place. I mean, it was in the first episode. I have to go back. Anyway, I I just had a feeling like this isn't going to last. Something is going to happen. And I was like the second or third time of me watching when I came to that conclusion, which you just mentioned, Shane, where like this is going to explode from the press.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be able to keep it a secret forever. Again, this could be something else that we've already used Nate as the bad guy, but maybe he finds out, and then I don't want to say it's one of the other players, but if the other players do find out, again, maybe Nate just sort of overhears it, or maybe he finds out from like Will, and Will accidentally says something to Nate about it, and again, it could be completely disastrous for them because where does it look, or how does it look as Rebecca as the owner to be dating a player?
What is Sam's salary now?
Right? Does Sam get special treatment?
Yeah.
Like what's the team chemistry going to be like now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot that could be bad about this, and again, that's one of the reasons why you don't date management. At certain companies,
you don't shit where you eat.
Yeah. So I mean,
eat where you shit.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
So like, and again, I feel bad for that sake. I thought about, well, if they didn't end up being the two that got together, then who does Rebecca find love from somewhere else where it could also be dramatic? Because obviously a lot of people don't want it to be Ted, but I thought it would be kind of interesting to see if she found a love interest from a coach from another team, another football club, and then maybe Ted Lasso gets a little jealous that, oh, you're dating another coach from another club, sort of thing. Like, I just think of other possibilities, and which probably won't happen, but sort of a what if perspective.
There's some synergy
marveling.
right there.
So, but
that's a real hero's what if right there. I love it.
Yep.
if we go back to what Jason Sudeikis said before this season premiered, he said it was the Empire Strikes Back moment of the season. So I'm wondering if everything is about to go to hell.
It's starting to look that way.
I mean, like there's so many red flags going up right now. I mean, you've got the boss dating one of the players who, blew up the whole sponsorship thing. You've got, the coach having panic attacks, another coach on mushrooms, another coach not reading the scouting reports, and there's dysfunction all throughout the whole program.
Right,
and a 5-0 loss might be the thing that causes that to be exposed. And so, I wonder if the rest of the season is a bunch of things going wrong, and then you end on sort of like a glimmer of hope, similar to how Empire Strikes Back ends, where everybody loses and then like they regroup and they're gonna move forward from there. So I wonder if that US sabbatical that we referred to might be something that Ted does in the very last episode of the season, and then season 3 is him coming back to the team. I'm not sure, but I could totally see it going that way, where night is darkest just before the dawn.
Wow. Look at that. It's more synergy.
Harvey Dent.
Hey.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
Harvey. So you said you had some predictions, Shane. Is this just
that was them?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
All
that
right.
was it.
So that's gonna wrap it up, guys. It's been a great show. Nick, what do you think is gonna happen next episode?
Beard's gonna go off. Yeah, Beard's gonna go off the rails. I think he is going to get he might do some more shrooms. He might have some more tea. And
it's the wrong tea.
Yeah, the wrong tea. He might have the wrong tea again on purpose this time.
Yeah.
But I do think again that he is going to have this cry for help. I think and I hope Ted comes to his rescue. And I think there's going to be, if this is the case, again, it's just a prediction moment. If Ted and Beard had this talk, I think it might implode, and it might make the next day at the office very weird between the two. And again, I think that this whole coaching dynamic might shift a lot more, or they could have it all sorted out after they sort of just air out the dirty laundry. You know, maybe Beard says like, you know, you haven't been coaching right. You know, you're not yourself. You know, you're all over the place. Like, you know, whatever's getting to your head is getting in the way from actually coaching properly.
Right.
You know, you blew the biggest game of the year because you said it is what it is, and it's like, well, yeah, but you know, I'm having anxiety attacks because my dad killed himself when I was 16, and something happened to my kid. Again, we don't really know the whole story behind that either, but so I think there's gonna be more to that. I don't know if it's gonna be the next episode where things between Rebecca and Sam go to shit.
I don't think it will either.
We got 4 episodes left, so I want to say that might happen in like the following episode, or maybe the penultimate episode.
Well, yeah, especially if next week is like a bottle episode where
right.
it focuses more on Beard. Which it might be like the writing team playing a very harsh, cruel prank on us, where they just make us stew in all the bad stuff for 2 weeks instead of 1, before going back to the warm fuzzies that this show is famous for. So
I do know who writes the next episode. It's I guess it's co-written by Joe Kelly and Brett Goldstein. So
Roy Kent himself.
Roy Kent.
Right?
Yeah.
So Roy Kent writing about Beard. Listen,
I like it.
The last episode Roy wrote was phenomenal. So I think we might get another, you know, banger of an episode next week, especially if it's, you know, bottle episode. So I'm low-key hyped.
Bottle episodes can be a whole lot of fun. You know, you look at the CW episode of Mythic Quest from this last season, the Fly episode of Breaking Bad. I mean, there's some real deep character stuff that can happen in one of those bottle episodes. So very, very excited to see where it goes. And we've only got 4 left before this show leaves us for probably another year's time. So out of 10, Shane, go.
I'm going with 10. This is
holy shit,
a phenomenal episode for me. I've had issues with the pacing of the series or the season, but like I don't think this episode did anything wrong. I think it hit on every single note. It had the biggest moment emotionally in the series with Jamie and Roy. It had good character development across the board. I mean, I can't really fault anything about it.
Man, this is a moment in history. We've been doing this Real Heroes show for almost a year, and no one has given anything a 10 ever.
Really?
I love it.
It's a 9. Great. We have a few 9s out between us, but
no 10s. So Nick, go.
I'm gonna say like an 8, maybe an 8.5 at the most for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say 9. Because like Shane said, it had a lot. The good very much outweighed the bad. And I think we're dealing with a show that is operating on a very high level. So even the stuff that people don't like as much is still better than most of the things that are getting put out there on television. So wow.
I mean, for me, it's like, what more could this episode have done? The only thing that it could have done is like been set up earlier, I guess. But like within the episode, I don't think there's anything it really did wrong.
I mean, to some degree, like, you know, again, I think the whole, you know, hair the barber scene, you know, and like it was hilarious because Jan Moss is
that was fun.
Like it was funny, and the way he kind of, I knew he was going to say that because he's Dutch, and I work with a bunch of Dutch people, and I've know more about their culture.
Great.
And while it was fun and all, I think you could have removed it and allowed that time to be dealt elsewhere to build more of the plot points that mattered, because it's like Aldo said, you know, but you know, Sam's got a fantastic haircut. Yeah, but guess what? It meant jack shit to win the most important fucking match of the year for you guys.
It did get him laid though.
I mean,
just saying.
You know, after the fact, yeah, but
just saying. You
know, it's I have another prediction. I think his father's going to be disappointed in him
for losing.
For dating his boss.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So once that comes out.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, and that's one of the things where, again, like what's the point of that? Because the whole idea behind Sam and his dad is that they've got a, he always does his father proud.
Right.
Now he doesn't because he wants to, get laid and
shag his
date
way
someone.
to the top.
I mean, it's
Fathers
like
and sons.
she could be his mother. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, I mean, I almost expect like, we don't really hear much about his mother, but I wonder if like we finally would or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Like, again, I think some of the thing, like the whole Sharon thing, again, for me, it was just kind of like all right, what's going on here? So I don't know. To me, it wasn't a perfect episode. Again, there's like a couple other episodes this season so far that I would go higher. And granted, I know this had one of the best moments of the entire show. But that moment I'll give 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
That moment, that whole scene is a 10 out of 10.
That
for me.
moment's an 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Spinal Tap 11. 11 out of 10. So, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think we're actually going to get some like legitimate 10s in the last 4 episodes.
Okay.
I think all of us are going to say a 10 at some point.
Only time will tell.
That's
That was
very true.
And folks, if you can't tell already, we have a lot of thoughts on this show. This has been a long video, and
It's
if you
the
stuck all
longest
the way
episode
through,
of Ted Lasso and
That's-
the longest video.
What a coincidence.
why not? And if you stuck through with us all the way to the end, we really appreciate you helping boost our algorithm on YouTube and
Yes.
getting this video suggested to more people. So that being said, it's time for us to wrap up. We will be back next week, hopefully covering a very trippy and or awesome episode centering on Beard. We would love to hear from you if you have any thoughts on this episode. Was it perfect? Or are you Shane? Or was it maybe not perfect? And you're Nick. Or you're me,
In the
who's
middle.
just numb on the inside and falls right in the middle of everything. Is non-confrontational, because that's probably something I should talk to my therapist about. Drop us a comment. Let us know below. I will answer every single comment that comes through. Hell, if you leave 2 comments, I'll respond to both of them. If you want to support the channel, you can do so absolutely for free. Just like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and share it with your friends. We will be back. Nick and I have a DC Titans review coming on Tuesday. I'll have a Black Widow 4K Blu-ray review on Wednesday. We're going to cover What If. Nick's doing C videos. There's a ton. We have way too much that's going on, and I can't keep track of all of it. But
I love it.
stay tuned for all of that and so much more. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Cheers.